Hello everyone. In the previous lecture, we studied about the introduction of developmental biology. Now, in this lecture series 2, we will be studying about the history of developmental biology. Developmental biology has a very ancient history and it started from Egyptians. Egyptians knew that egg can be artificially incubated in ovens, and then from there it can be grown into an individual, and embryo is not alive according to them until it is born. They also knew about the placenta, that placenta is the seat of external soul, by which they mean that from placenta they can get some external person and external soul that will be converted further into a new individual. So these were the concepts of Egyptians around 1400 BC. Now the next is Aristotle. He came around 384 to 322 BC. He studied various embryos of animals and he said that male is responsible for providing the soul, while this soul grows in the matter called as catamenia present in female. He also wrote a book, Treatise de Generation Animalium, that is generation of animals. Another scientist who came were Fabricius and William Harvey. They said the development exists in blood of animals and all animals come from egg, and he favored the pre-formation theory. We'll later on study about pre-formation theory. Now the next was Anaximander, who said that living creatures come from moist elements, like man has come from fish initially. The scientist Empedocles came in 500 BC. He told that embryo arises from female and partly from male. He also knew that heart forms first and afterwards nail forms. Then there was another scientist, Hippocrates. He studied the development process of chicks. He also found that embryo can be developed by taking breath and moisture from mother, and it gains nourishment by sucking blood from placenta. Another one was Galen of Pergamos. He told that umbilical cord is necessary for respiration and also described about fetal developments and structures like allantois, amnion and placenta, etc. He also authored a book which is on the formation of fetus. A very famous scientist we all know, that is Robert Hooke, who invented cell also, and he was also involved in inventing sperm and ovum by viewing under the microscope. Next scientist was Leonardo da Vinci. He did the dissection of human fetus and measured the changes in weight, size and shape over time of embryo. Now for the first time, a very concrete theory in the field of developmental biology came, called as pre-formation theories, according to which the individuals are pre-formed similar to the adult individuals. Like if there is a human, there would be a miniature present in the egg cell or the sperm cell, which will further lead into the formation of adult individual. So Swammerdam was the first one who told about the preformed embryos, called as homunculus in case of humans. Humans are either formed by sperm or ovum. De Graaf, there was another scientist who described about the ovarian follicles. Next, Antony von Leeuwenhoek, who is also called as father of microbiology, he described the sperm of man and other mammals through microscope, but significance of sex cells was not known to him. So Leeuwenhoek and another scientist, Hartsheuser, believed that the miniature or the mini form of the individual is present in the head of the sperm and not in the egg. This view is called as spermist or animalculist view. According to spermist, sperm contains a small form which further get converted into a full baby by getting nutrition from the ovum. Hartsheuser made a small form of human located in the head of the sperm, as visible in the diagram. The another theory was encasement or embodiment theory. So, in this theory, Bonnet and Swammerdam told that ovum contains successive generations which are developed from small forms present in germ cells of mother. It was believed that Eve had 200 million human beings already delineated for the successive generations. This was also supported by Holler, Malpighi and Charles Bonnet. They told that ovum contains a small form of adult and its growth is stimulated by the semen of male. This view is called as ovist view. Later on, in 1729 to 1799, Spelling, he did the first artificial insemination using frog's eggs, and thus he told that the pre-formation theory is totally wrong, and he made a new theory. Another theory came is theory of epigenesis. This was given by C.W. Wolf in 1759. He told that neither sperm or nor ovum play role individually. Both are involved in the process of embryo formation by progressive growth and differentiation. Ovum contains the material which is required for the development of embryo, and this material rearranges into different layers. The development of embryo from simple form to complex form is called as epigenesis. Although this theory was opposed by Holler and Bonnet, von Baer supported it. Until now, it is accepted only. So, afterwards, there is another scientist, Pander, in 1814 came. He studied about 3 primary germ layers in chick embryo. He also studied about the structure of undeveloped eggs, early development of blastoderm, appearance of primitive streaks with 2 primitive lateral folds. There was another scientist, Dumas, in 1824. He described about the cleavage of eggs as the building units in embryo. Carl Ernst von Baer. He is called as the father of modern embryology. According to him, during the development of animal from ovum, more general features appear first and then the special one. For example, in vertebrates, common features like as brain, notochord, muscles, they develop first, and later on the limbs, hair, feathers which differentiate one organism to the another are appearing later. So, family specific characters appears later, then genre specific, and lastly species specific characteristics develop. So, he also studied the comparative and descriptive embryology. He found mammalian egg for the first time, but he didn't know the significance of mammalian eggs. He also studied the embryos of different vertebrates, ovum in ovarian follicles of dog. He identified notochord and recognized primitive ridges that later on folds to form the spinal column. In the 19th century, later on, it was found that animals and plants have been developed from simple unicellular organisms. In chordates, evolution has occurred from cyclostomes, fishes, amphibians, and reptiles, etc. Another theory was given by a very famous scientist, Darwin, in the year of 1817, called as pangenesis theory. According to him, each somatic cell of organism produces a minute copy of itself called as gemule or pangen. Then they get deposited either in the ovary or testes through blood. Then these concentrated gemules in the germ cells get converted into respective parent body or the same body type, and this forms the complete individual. So this was pangenesis theory. Now the next theory is biogenetic theory or the recapitulation theory, according to which ancestral features appear first during the early growth stages and then later the characteristics which are of recent origin appears. So according to this, genetic ancestry is repeated, or it can also be said that ontogeny repeats phylogeny, which means that first of all ancestral features will appear in the growth of any individual. So if we see the example of human, the characteristic features of fish or amphibians will be seen earlier in the embryo development, and later on the more characteristic features of human will develop. but later on it was found that there is some changes in this theory, according to which ontogeny of an animal repeats the fundamental steps of ontogeny of ancestral forms. This means that rather appearing like fish or amphibia in the earlier stages, the embryo appears like embryo of fish or embryo of amphibia. So this was recapitulation theory given by Ernst Haeckel. Now there was another scientist, Ben Benden, in 1883. He showed that equal number of chromosomes are contributed by both male and female during the fertilization process in the embryo formation.